Hey, and welcome back. This is Julie, your host, and today I have a beautiful woman next to me. Her name is Alyona Goncharov, and she has just an amazing testimony that I haven't even heard the complete story yet. I do know that this beautiful woman that you're looking at was actually in hospice at one point, and they had really told her there was nothing more that they could do. And here she is. So you would never know looking at her. And I think it's amazing how everyone has a story, has something they've been through, and we don't always know looking at one another. So I love being able to share the journey and how we got through it. So welcome, Alyona.
Hello. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. So tell us a little bit about yourself as far as where you were before you got sick and kind of how things happened.
Yes. So grew up in the Christian home and went to church regularly, originally from Ukraine. So our community is really tight, and it was really important growing up as well. So I was really active in the church. I played in orchestra, sang in the choir, like I said, went regularly and everything like that. But just growing up, I just felt a lot like I was saved, but I didn't have that personal relationship with the Lord and with God as the Father. So this time, whenever, something happens like this and is so critical in your life and you hear cancer, it just puts a lot of things into perspective,
Yes.
And unfortunately at that time for me, I didn't have that relationship with the Lord. So I did not have that sense of peace that you would hope you would have whenever you hear those kind of words. I guess on the other side, thankfully, I guess that I did have at least that beginning portion of it. I knew that my answers were in the Lord and in the Bible, and just I really dug deep into that to help me through that, I guess, journey. I don't think that's the best word to use, but just trying to figure out the answers of why this is happening. And I guess that was the beginning of it.
So you were diagnosed with what kind of cancer, and how long ago was this?
Okay, it's a little tricky because when I just turned 22, I guess I felt some symptoms here and there, and for like 2 or 3 months, like I just had, if I were to lay down flat in my lower abdomen, I would feel like a hardening, but it would come and go. So at first I didn't think anything of it. It would just be like for a couple of days and then it would just disappear. And then the following month, the same thing happened. And then I was like, okay, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
So then after like 2 or 3 months, I ended up going to the doctor, and she was like, well, when I was telling her my symptoms, she was like, oh, sure, it's nothing, you're young, nothing to worry about, but, let me like get undressed, go lay down, whatever, and then like as soon as she put her hands on my abdomen, she, like everything shifted in the room, and you can tell like she was worried, but she didn't say anything just yet,
Yeah.
So then she was like, well, just come, see me in the office. And then I went in with her, and she was like, well, I don't want you to be alarmed, but I do want to refer you out. And it is a gynecological oncologist. So as soon as like you hear oncology, cancer is just like, no one's prepared to hear that. But she's like, I don't want you to feel like it is cancer, because right now we don't know. I just want to refer you out and see further testing. So I went probably like the following day. Everything went really quickly with that, to the specialist, and they ended up doing another ultrasound and some blood work, and the tumor markers were a little bit elevated. But he told me like, I can't tell you right away like this is cancer or not, like we need to do exploratory surgery. So they weren't going to biopsy or anything, they were just going to go straight for the surgery.
Wow.
And to me at that point, it was really difficult to hear. I mean, 22, I guess still freshly, newlywed at that time. We were just started talking about having kids, and here they're telling me, well, we're going to do surgery, and if it's cancer, we're going to do a whole complete hysterectomy. If it's not, and it's tumor will try to save one ovary and that, but they couldn't guarantee what road we were going to take, So to me, at that time, I was there with my mom, and we decided to, I told him he wanted to admit me right then and there and do the surgery like the following day. And I was just like, this is all happening way too quickly. Like, I need a whole minute to process. My husband's not here. I need to talk to him. And we ended up pushing it out till like Monday. I believe it was Friday. It was Thursday because he wanted to do it on Friday. So I'm just looking back at it, and he was like, please schedule something before you leave. So just scheduled something on the books for Monday. And I went home, talked to my husband, talked to my family, and tried to figure out what was the best course of action right now. Cause they didn't know what it was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we went a little bit of a different route right there and decided to go the holistic approach before doing something that can't be undone.
Yes.
And it's not for everybody. Obviously, I don't recommend. This is my choice of action and my journey. So I'm not telling anybody else to do what I did. But at that point, we ended up canceling the surgery, and I did a holistic approach to things. And that lasted for close to 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Close to 2 years. So at that point, like, we didn't know it was cancer, but it was cancer for those 2 years. Yeah. So then at 24, is when I ended up having the surgery. Obviously, hope the holistic stuff didn't help. So I ended up doing the surgery, and it was cancer. It was chemo-resistant type of cancer. So it was like a rare, I don't even remember the name of it. So this is the bad part about me, is with
no
the
bad part.
Yeah, well, with it, like, I don't want to say identify myself with it, but like, I don't want it to consume me.
Yeah.
So like, So it was like serious something, ovarian cancer. I don't know. But it was 2 years since finding out that it was cancer.
Yeah. Wow. And then at what point did you go down? Like, I know your weight dropped dramatically over that time. What was your lowest weight? And at what point did they actually put you in hospice and tell you there was nothing more?
Yes. So my weight dropped even at the beginning whenever I started doing the holistic approach.
Yeah, because of the cancer.
Yeah. But, and I cut out like everything, and bread and meat and this, so I was like, I cut out a lot. So I dropped some weight, but I didn't drop so drastically until right before surgery. And then after surgery is where I lost even more weight, because I was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, and I didn't eat or drink or anything for like 5 or 6 days there too. And then like the fluid was being drained out. So the lowest was actually 80 pounds.
Oh my goodness. And that was the photos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was 80 pounds. That was already at home, like after the surgery, because I had to like weigh myself every day. And so I remember that. And I was just like, oh my God, is it going to keep dropping? And then it just stopped at 80. So thank God. Yeah. And then, but God is good. And as soon as I was able to eat after the surgery, I just started to regain strength really quickly. Everybody was really surprised with the fact that I had an appetite, and I was holding it all down, and I just kept eating. Like, and by kept eating, I mean like every 2 hours I was like, oh my God, give me food. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and eat. So I just felt like the restoration was happening really quickly.
That's good. Now with your heart, to get to that weight, a lot of times you see muscle wasting, anorexia was one of the things you saw with cardiac involvement. So was that a piece of like, how did the hospice part fit in?
Right. So with there's a lot of pieces to it. So in order to like piece it together, so the initial surgery, what I knew was obviously the cancer-related surgery. And then when I woke up from it, they told me I was having heart So at the beginning, I couldn't really like, I'm still like drowsy and I'm just like so weak from everything. So I didn't understand completely, you know, what they were saying, but every time they would come in and they'll say the same thing over and over again. And they were like, okay, so there's an injection fraction, healthy ejection fraction. And, you know, a normal person is like 55 to 70%, I want to say. And then 35, they say you get a pacemaker put in, and then 15% you're a candidate for heart transplant. And I was under 10%. Yeah. So
see, that's my language. I know what that means.
Yeah.
I used to do open heart ICU, so call that the EF, you know. Holy smokes, she must have had zero energy.
Well, so that's when they tell me you would technically be on the heart transplant list, but because of cancer, we can't do anything. And then my oncology, the doctor would come in and she's like, okay, well, we did the surgery. We hope we got everything. And you have this rare chemo-resistant cancer, which, you know, protocol is, even though it's chemo-resistant, I would still want to do chemo, just protocol. But because of your heart, we can't do anything. So then like you hear these two like double whammies, you know, like that are happening. It's like, okay, great. Nothing can be done. But at that point, it was all on the cardiac team now. So she said the cancer's kind of on the back burner. We need to keep your heart functioning. So that's when I was put on a lot of different medication. I had like 5 different ones and on blood thinners and everything. And they just wanted to try to maintain it. But they were saying like, we don't think like this is really going to do anything, but we're trying. We're going to start off on the lowest dose possible because we don't know how your heart's going to react to these meds. And the goal was to get me up to like the highest milligrams that they could for at least 6 months to see if it's going to do anything for the heart. But they weren't really optimistic for it to recover completely just because it was so low. So that's when I started taking the medication and all, and I was fine. So I had my surgery in July, and probably within the month actually after surgery, I started, you know, gaining my weight back up. I just started like, I felt more normal. I could breathe better. I was like walking around doing what I wanted, you know, doing what I needed to do, which is good. And then in December, I actually got hospitalized again for my heart because I just felt shortness of breath. And I remember like there's stairs at church to go sit on the upper level. So I'd walk up, but I'm just like, it was really hard to breathe. And then I started feeling a little bit more like edema in my legs. So we ended up going to the hospital and I got admitted. And this time around, I was in Novant because the first time it was through CMC, and with insurance and all, like I needed to be with Novant. So here I have a whole set of new doctors. And they had the medical history from CMC, but they were trying to like catch up on it, and they're reading it, and they're just all like in complete shock, you know?
Yes.
And so here, you know, I'm admitted, they put me on an IV, and the cardiologist comes in and he's like, your ejection fraction is really low, your heart rate is really high, we're trying to stabilize it. Basically, this is like the strongest drug that we can do for you right now is this IV. And we'll just have to wait and see if it's going to do anything. You know, I'm going to just have to like go back a little bit to the point where I had those 2 years when I was doing the holistic approach of things. So obviously it didn't work. But to me, those 2 years weren't just for like the holistic approach of things, but more of a spiritual journey. So at that time is when I really sought the Lord. And I needed to figure out what, like, not everyone says, why is this happening to me? You know? And it's like, everyone says this, but to me, I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I I was good. I went to church, you know, like
Mhm.
there's so many other people who did so much worse things, and then they're doing, you know, living perfect lives, you know, this and that. It's selfish, it's bad, you know, but I think
No,
everybody
it's
goes through that, you know, at that
yes.
point, and to not be spiritually, I don't know how to say like mature, but kind of, you know,
Mhm.
I didn't have the relationship with the father. So to me, my entire like upbringing and up to even like 22 years old, I just saw God as God there to judge, condemn, and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. So that's when I was like, I need to figure out, like, Lord, I was like, doctors can't tell me why, my parents can't tell me, you know, like no
Mhm.
one else around me can give me the answers I need. So that's when I really jumped into the word, and I just sought answers through him. And that's when I finally got that relationship, you know, like
Mhm.
the word, like the Bible is no longer a book. He was speaking to me through it. Like it was so much. And at one point, so I'm a dental hygienist and I had to completely quit work.
Yeah.
And at one point, the word was like my full-time job. I just could not put it down. I was in the word for like 8 to 10 hours a day, like just like soaking it all in.
Yeah.
And I received so much peace at the end of it. Like
Oh,
so much peace where it's just like everything else, I don't know what's going on around me physically, but I know everything's going to be fine. Like I just
wow.
knew, you know, at the end of it, like I know this is
Yeah.
bad, I look bad, like everything on report is really bad, but I'm like, I have this sense of peace where I know that I'll get through it,
It
you know?
surpasses all
Yeah.
understanding.
So
Yeah.
even like, you know, walking by faith, not by
Mhm.
sight, you know, so that became my like motto, I guess, you know, and I don't think everybody around you can really understand it either,
Mhm.
because it's all in the spirit. And we, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
um, so then whenever I was in the hospital in December and with the doctors and he's telling me about this, you know, IV it's going to take and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I get it's bad, but I'm like, I know it'll be fine. You know, like it'll be fine. Like, and I'm looking at myself too, at this point, I already gained some weight back, you know, and I'm like, buddy, you haven't seen me 6 months ago, you know, and how bad it really was.
Yeah.
So it'll be fine. Like, okay. But you know, I was there for a couple of days, and I think after like 3 days, everything got more stabilized, my
Yeah.
levels and stuff.
Awesome.
But even at that time, he comes in and he was like, "Well, I just want to let you know that you know it is working, but you're probably gonna have to like leave here with the IV attached to you, and we're gonna figure out somehow to work this out and like how you're gonna upkeep with it at home and everything, you know."
Yeah.
So that was like something you don't want to hear, but I was like, I don't know, this is really bad for me to say, but I was like, I kind of like laughed inside and I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not leaving here with this thing. Like I'm gonna get out. I'll be fine.
Wow.
Like I'm telling you, like, but and that's when, you know, it started to stabilize my heart rate and everything. Like my reports were getting better, but that's when I had hospice come out, was at that point.
Yeah.
And at that time too, like I got hospitalized because of my heart, but because of my history they had to notify gynecological oncologist with Novant
Mhm.
too. So he would come in and this is where it gets, I don't want to say like tricky, but like my entire like time in the medical, I don't know, establishments, I guess, especially
Mhm.
like going back and forth and stuff and just like the way it started. So the gynecological oncologist who actually came in was the first one I saw as a specialist that wanted to do the surgery right away 2 years ago.
Oh,
So
wow.
he walks in the door and he's like, it was difficult, I guess. Like to me, I was just like, okay, great. Like I get it. Like I ended up like I still had to get the surgery done.
Mhm.
But he comes into the room and I don't want to say he had like the best bedside manner about it, you
Yeah.
know? So he came in, wanted to see how I'm doing, this and that. You've got the surgery. And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, well, you're here for, you know, we can't do anything for your oncology portion because of your heart. And I was like, yeah, I already know this just from my other hospitalization. So he didn't have a plan or to do anything. Obviously, I knew this part, but he just kept coming in the entire week I was there, every single day, and just telling the same thing over, and then telling me more stuff about my cardiology related stuff. Like my cardiologist wasn't even telling me so much, but this doctor who's outside of his specialty would come in and just like, I just felt like it was more of like a spiritual attack on like, you know, I really felt like he was there to like just break my faith in a way, you know, like a lot of it, because
he just couldn't see any way out.
So and he just kept coming in day after day after day, and I'm just like, I understand what you're saying, and just like I'll keep it really brief with him, because there's nothing that you can do anyways. But then at one point he comes in, and my mom was there with me, and he like, I'm in the bed, he comes in, he sits down, and then he was like, how are you doing? I'm like, good. And he was like, well, I just, you know, I don't really think you understand the severity of your situation. And I was just like, no, I get it. And then he was like, no. And he kind of goes on again about the whole medical stuff. And then he's looking at me, he's looking at my mom, he's looking at me, he's looking at mom. He was like, do you need to translate this to her? And I'm like, no, because I already know, like she already knows this. And it's nothing new. We already discussed this for the past 3 days. Like you've been here. And then he just keeps looking, and my mom, like any mother in this position, like she's just like heartbroken, you know? So he just kept going back and forth with me and her. And then he implies again, like, you know, the severity, this and that. And I just couldn't anymore. And I was like, listen, I'm sorry. It was like, you know, I told him, I was like, I don't know about you, but I was like, as a Christian, I was like, I don't just go to church, you know, every couple months or this and that. And I was like, I have this relationship, you know, and I know that I'll be fine. Yes, this is bad, but I'm like, I'm not going to be digging my own grave. And then I just got emotional. This thing's going off and it's beeping because my heart rate is going up. My mom's trying to calm me down, and he was like, no, it's okay, let her. And I was just like, so I just gave him a little bit of peace of my mind. But at the same time, I was like, of course you get emotional at this moment. And I started to cry. And he was like, oh, now I understand. You do understand the severity of your situation. And I was like, you were just waiting for me to cry? Just because I didn't react like maybe every other patient of yours, you know, doesn't mean I don't understand what's going on, you know? But I'm like, at the same time, I was like, I'm not, like, you have no hope towards my situation. Maybe another doctor doesn't have hope towards my situation. But why do I have to accept it? I know, like, I have a God who's greater. And just because you don't have answers or you think something's going to happen, I was like, why do I have to rely my faith in you, who's a human? And you know, I get you're a doctor, you can do great things, and I appreciate it because you help so many people. But like when it's a hopeless situation, why am I gonna put all of me into your hands where I have a God who is greater, you know, who's greater than the situation? So at that point I was just like, okay. So I gave him a piece of mind. He was like, okay, well, I hope everything's well. And he kind of just leaves. And then he didn't come the next day. Yeah, he didn't. He sent his colleague actually, and the colleague was so scared to come in, and he was like, I heard there was a situation, and he was like, do you need anything from me? I was like, no. I was like, I'm telling, like, if I need something and if something goes wrong, like, we'll notify you, but like there's nothing you can do. And I keep hearing this over and over again, there's nothing you can do. Why are you going to keep coming into the room? I don't know, do you get paid every time you come into the room? That's why you want to come into the room? I don't know. But it was just like a lot of like unnecessary things. But I felt like every time he would come in there, it was just an attack spiritually, you know? Like I really felt like it was a spiritual attack just to really waver my faith and just like throw me off course. Like, because I was in such peace and I just know everything's going to be fine. And he would come in and I was just like,
So did you end up being discharged from there? Or okay.
So a couple days later, everything got stabilized, and I ended up, they were like, well, let's try the medication again and see if your heart rate and everything's going to stay with the medication. And it was fine. So I actually ended up going home on just meds, not an IV.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I'm sorry. So he came in that time and he said the severity of the situation was because I refused hospice. I'm sorry, I forgot because I told you about the hospice.
You went into hospice.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so the hospice lady comes in and we were talking and she was just like, well, I'm here to, this and that about hospice. And I was like, okay, well, from what you're saying, I was like, I feel like I don't really need it. I have family who's here to help me through this time, even if it's my time to go.
Mm-hmm.
I have people to be around me to keep me company, because she was like, we're here to make it easier on you and just like take you if you need something, or like, all the stuff, which is great for, but I have people around me who are willing and are able to be there. So I was like, she's like, I don't know why I'm here. And I was like, I don't know either. I'm sorry. And she's like, just say you're refusing this. So I signed it and I didn't accept hospice.
Okay.
Even though they wanted,
Okay.
So they wanted me to go on hospice, but we refused it.
And if I could clarify I know I have children that listen to this too. Hospice, for anyone who doesn't understand what that is, hospice is a place that you go to die when there's nothing more medically can be done. There's wonderful people there that their goal is to help you pass with dignity and comfort and just an honor. So that says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's when the following day he came in and he was like, I don't think you understand the severity of the situation. Because of that. But then he also was kind enough to tell me, it's like, well, with patients going into hospice, he was like, I've never seen anyone come out of hospice, And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going into hospice.
That's not the way to sell it.
I was like, I'm not going into hospice. If it's my time to go, I'll go. But like
at home.
I have people around me, so that's fine. So that was kind of, all of it. It's just hard to kind of like piece things together and remember how it went. Exactly. But I ended up going home on just the medication and had frequent visits with cardiologists as they were monitoring it. And I would say probably 3 months later is when I had a visit with her, and she was like, well, you seem to be doing really well. Like, you're active and like you're not getting swelling, and you're just like, I had like 0 symptoms of anything heart related.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long after?
Like, it was like 3 months.
Wow.
And she was like, well, you seem to be doing really well. Let's go ahead and do a echocardiogram and see, how your heart's doing. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And they ended up doing that. And I got a call, and the lady, she was like, well, I just want to tell you, I'm so sorry. Like, the numbers aren't any better. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, it's okay. And I just kind of hang out, because I like, at that point, I'm telling you, like, walk by faith, not by sight. And in my heart, I was like, it's okay if like on paper for the rest of my life, it says that I have like this kind of ejection fraction where it's like super low. But like, if God's giving me the strength and he is fueling me and I'm feeling fine and I'm just like able to do what I need to do, I'm like, that's okay. That's fine, So I was still on the medication, and she just wanted me to continue taking it. And she was raising the dosage a little bit. And at one point, it was kind of giving me like a weird side effect with one of the medication. Like, when she put it up, my joints were like really twisted, achy feeling. So then she was like, I think it's because we just raised the night before. Let's put you down back to the other milligrams that you were taking. So I never really went up to the dosage that they wanted me to be at with the medication. So I was just going back and forth to the appointments, and we just didn't know like what's going on, but I was feeling really well. And then my cardiologist, she went on maternity leave. So that kind of like threw me off with the scheduling too. But they were like, you're doing good. We're doing refills here and there. And then like 6 months went by, and I was just like, okay, well, can we do another echocardiograph and just see where we're at? Like, like I feel even better than 6 months ago. So they ended up, she was still gone, but they ended up like doing it for me. And at that point I was really bless, I guess, my tech who was doing it, she was actually a Russian lady. So it was really neat. And she kind of hinted, you know, they're not allowed to like say anything, but she slightly hinted that, oh, it's looking better. And I was just like, score. I didn't say score. I said, oh, I know. And she was like, what do you mean, you know? And I was just like, well, I just feel different. And even if I would lay before my like left side, I just would feel my heart kind of like acting slightly weird, you know, but now it's like I can lay on my stomach, I can lay on my left side, right side, and I feel totally fine. But that's all she said, that it just looks slightly better. And I didn't hear anything back from them for a couple of days, and I was just like, why aren't they either calling me or scheduling something? So I just kept checking the portal online to see if there was any updates. And then finally I see that the results were in. I'm trying to figure out what is it. And then I just remember that a lot of the stuff was, well, not a lot, everything was like normal on it. And then when it came to the ejection fraction, it was like 50.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. God is good.
It's Did you want to take it to that guy and be like, what?
Telling you.
Nothing against doctors. There's good and bad in everything, you know, and nurses too. But, you know, he was trying his best in the way he knew the best way.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have still been tempted.
So that was, I mean, I knew it in a way, you know, like I just, but even like I told you, I was like, even if it stays like same on paper, I just felt so good. And I just felt restored. Amazing. But on paper, just having that was great. But they didn't call me for like a couple of days after that, you know, and I was just like, great. I mean, I already saw it, but thank you, you know. And this is another thing that I did afterwards that I guess I'm not a doctor, obviously, or a medical professional, so don't take what I did for yourself. But at that point, I kind of started weaning myself off the medication. Because the whole thing with like the insurance and the doctor and her being gone, and there was just a few things in the system that kind of were like glitchy at that point. And I was on blood thinners too. And it was like all stabilized. They didn't see any clots, this and like all that stuff. And just a lot of like things started happening. I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm not continuing with this medication. I'll slightly wean myself off. So I was weaning myself off of everything. And I've been off of everything for like over 2 years now. Doing good. Yeah. So
is it hard for you to do certain activities like stairs or?
I run.
I
run.
Goodness.
I work out. Yeah.
Do you know how much of a like when you have, I mean, cardiac muscle, myocardium is different than skeletal muscle. You know, obviously you can build muscle. Working on that anyway. But your cardiac muscle is different. And typically, and I'm not a cardiologist, talk about disclaimers, but I did work in the cardiovascular ICU, and typically when you have muscle wasting of your heart, that's really bad. Like the fact that you are this and you're running. And there's one other thing that I thought that I read somewhere on, it might've been on a Facebook post. You were in an article and it talked about something, an endeavor that you did when you got out with your sister and what it represented. So can you talk about that? Cause that's really cool.
Absolutely. So, during my recovery, I guess during the time that it started really quickly, I guess after surgery and you know, I wouldn't say like right away, but within that 6 months, like afterwards. So I guess the time that I should have been in hospice is when it kind of started. We always talked about, you know, starting a tea shop or a tea business. And since we're Ukrainian, tea's so big in our lives, like every time it was not come over for coffee, it's like come for tea and cake, you know, like come on, like tea's all the time in our lives. And we always talked about doing something like that in the future. But then at that time when I'm recovering, we were like, why not now? You know, and that kept us motivated and gave us a task to do. And we started working towards opening Birch Vine Tea, which is the name of our company. And Birch is homage to Ukraine. There's a lot of birch trees there. And then folklore sayings too, that birch stands for new beginnings.
Oh,
so that just felt perfectly for us.
Yes.
So we were really excited. We worked for an entire year just developing the business, and from packaging to the teas and everything. So we just celebrated 2 years since we launched officially. So we were really excited. We were opening actually a location in Camp North End.
Nice.
So it's gonna be a small little tea bar. So soon, hopefully within a month or two.
That's beautiful. I love that, new beginnings, because that's exactly what it was with your spiritual journey and your healing, miraculous healing. That is amazing. And if you're listening, I'm going to post pictures. If you're not seeing this video, you have got to see the photos of what she came from. It's, as a nurse, I mean, I can't even express. When I saw the photos, I was just in awe that you're still here and doing so well. So your tea business, she brought me a little tea. I'm so excited to try it. I can have that. Now you have a store that you're opening up. Is it online that you have?
Yes, we do have it online. That's how we started. Actually, for the first year, we were all online. So it's birchvinetea.com. And then this past year in 2018, we began having a lot of pop-ups throughout Charlotte. So we had a really good reception with the community, and that led us towards this small location that we're opening now.
I can't wait to try mine. I'm so excited. So I guess if there were one piece of advice or a lesson or something that you would give to people that are going through some kind of struggle, and I do, before I actually ask you that, I do want to say, I felt like when you were talking about going the holistic route, I love holistic care, and I'm a medical person too. So I felt like part of you was saying, well, I made a mistake, I did this, but for some people it works really well.
Absolutely.
I've seen people cured of cancer doing, and I guess it depends on the person and what kind of cancer and all of those factors. So, there's no shame in that decision. Obviously it didn't work for you where you were at. So, and I think you found the good in it, and that it gave you that peace in your spiritual walk. So, I just wanted to say that, I think that for some people that can work, and it's just an individual decision.
Absolutely.
So, wow, I would love to get this out to people that took care of you, for them to see how well you're doing. And because I think it's such a testimony that, that God is great and he's with us, and I'm just immensely blessed. So anyway, back to the last question. So one takeaway from you, what would that be after all of that you've gone through?
Just to really, this world, everything in it, the people, even family, it all comes and goes, and you can't really lean towards just somebody else for that support, especially in such trying times. So I would really, the one thing is to build your faith, honestly. Like everything else it comes and goes, honestly, but the one constant is our God, is the Father and the Lord, that is there to be with you on the daily, even in the worst times that you don't know what's happening, but to really lean on him. Honestly, like lean on him. And I still don't know what's going to happen or how long, but that's the thing too. I feel like when I was going through this, I had, even some friends that were like, oh man, like today, like what about tomorrow? Like, are you, about tomorrow? And I'm just like, I get it, I'm sick, and I get you're asking me this question, but at the same time, like, what about your tomorrow? Or your 10 minutes? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. It's just easier, I guess, when you do have a sickness and illness to start thinking that way, and like thinking tomorrow could be the last. But to any healthy person, you just don't know what's going to happen in the next day. So your faith, and that is honestly the main thing that I would say, just make it a priority. And then it gets hard whenever everything is perfect and butterflies, where that can kind of go past the wayside. So just lean on God.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much. And it's funny, I actually have I haven't shared this with you, but I actually have a severe spine issue right now. And they want to do a major fusion on me, like all the way down the back, all the way down the side, 2 rows of hardware from like T9 to my sacrum. And I'm actually disabled for my job.
Wow.
And when I felt called to do this, I really thought, God, I don't even know how long I can do this. And I've gotten really negative reports from the couple surgeons that I've spoken with, that they don't know how I'm going right now. And so I'm not working partly for that, which is great because I get to do, I've been redirected.
Yes.
So I try to think of it like that. But I can't relate to the heart issue and what you went through, but it's a health thing with me, and I don't know what comes tomorrow. You know, and I say every day, God, just help me, you know, and they don't know how are you still doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to do all of these things, but I have my faith, and I feel like, you know what, I don't know. I might have to have a major surgery and be out for a year and, you know, have very limited mobility after that. But God is with me every single day. Yes. And that gives me a peace that I can't really explain. And it's kind of cool to know He's gotten me this far. Yes. So whatever comes, you know, I just have a peace with it, and I try to live the best today. So, and I'm trusting Him. So yeah, better than living in fear. I'm not going to do that. So anyway, God bless you. And so thank you so much for watching. And if you have a miracle that you would like to share, please share it with me at everydaymiraclespodcast.com. And God bless you.